I don't think this is the entirety of my BGG top 10, but I think it's a pretty decent cross-section of games. Here we go. Off the top, my single favorite board game of all time, Ticket to Ride. This is such a brilliant game where players are collecting different train routes all across America. You can get a whole bunch of different boards in this, and it's just a really cool like set collection game. You're trying to complete different routes across America to get like bonus points, and whoever has the most points wins. But there's so much strategy of like, how long do you hold on to your cards before you start cashing them in? What happens if someone takes the route or like blocks a path? How do you go around? And there's a lot of hidden information and just so much fun to be had with this game. I've played this like thousands of times on my phone. It's great to play against the computer, but it's even better playing it in person. Ticket to Ride, my all-time favorite board game. I know that took the air out of the sails because everything else is worse from here. Not really worse from here, but another one. This one is one that I stand for super hard. Like, people don't really talk about this game in the board gaming scene, but I think it's simply phenomenal. It is Lords of Vegas. This is one I bring up every time we talk about playing board games, because it's this like incredible game where you're creating casinos and you're making money off casinos. You're gambling at other people's casinos. Yeah, Randy says that one's great. And it's like such a dramatic game where money is flying around the table and people are making bets, and you are fighting for control over different casinos because you can like merge your properties with other people's properties, and because you have the higher like influence because of your die bits on the top, it's just like, well, I'm your boss now, give me all your money. It's so good. Never heard of that one. It's so good. There's I was sold on this because Will Wheaton's Tabletop, I think that was the name of the show, they did an episode on this, and then I was like, this looks pretty good. And actually, it looks pretty good. And then I donated my brain to science, where I did like a bunch of brain scan stuff, and they gave me $50. Like Stefan, that was a whole thing. Anyway, with the money, I bought this game. And it ended up being even better than I thought it would. The brain scan stories are stories for another day. But Lords of Vegas is one of my all-time favorites, and people don't talk about this enough. It's so good. Here is an all-time classic, Carcassonne. It's a tile laying game where you are placing the tiles on the ground and you are helping to create is it a town? Is it a village? Is it a city? The city of Carcassonne. And there's different art on all of the tiles, but they all line up, and you can create different worlds. Like, each time you play it, the end world ends up different, but at the same time, it still looks cohesive because everything locks together so well. And on top of that, there's a lot of strategy on like what parts of the map you claim for yourself, whether you're a knight claiming a city or you're claiming a road or a farm. And it's so much fun, and it's different every time, and I love this game so much. It's actually, my wife and I enjoy this one so much that our guest book at our wedding is a copy of Carcassonne. Everyone signed their tiles, and one of these days, Steph and I will put it together as like a map with everyone's signatures on it. So this one means a lot to us, and it's a fantastic game. Couple more. This is not indicative of everything that I have. One of the first games that Steph and I ever bought was one called Love Letter, and now they've got like a billion different versions of this game. There's a Batman one, there's a lot of different ones. This is the wedding edition of the game that you can only, at the time, you could only get if you were getting married. You had to send the company like a copy of your wedding invitation, and then they would send you this one. And it's basically like It's a deduction game. You're trying to get the highest card, and the mechanics are super simple. You have a card, you play a card, you pick up a card, or you pick up a card, you play a card. The big difference with this one is that the princess is in a wedding gown versus her regular gown, because that's the wedding edition. And so to celebrate our wedding, we ordered a couple of wedding edition copies of Love Letter and have given them to other couples, as well as they have gotten married and are also into board games. Couple more. This is not like the definitive list of my favorite games. These are the ones I grabbed conveniently. We played this one on Extra Life the first year. Animal Upon Animal. It is meant to be a children's game where you are stacking animals on top of each other, but there's a lot of strategy in the way that you stack them, stacking these blocks. And it just like leads to really silly scenarios of like snakes on top of sheep on top of other animals. Well, it's actually like a cooler Jenga IMO, and it's something that anyone of any age can play and have fun with. And yes, it's technically made for kids, but it is fun for everyone. No, there it is. Ages 4 to 99. So yeah, you're of age to play this game. You're fine. Two more. This is a 2-player card game called Lost Cities. And in this one, it's basically competitive 2-player solitaire, where you're trying to create these sets of cards in numerical sequence, but there's only one of each number. And like, for example, if I play the blue 1 and 2, and I want the 3, but Steph's holding the 3, and then she starts her set with 3 and 4, like, oh, she gets those points and I don't. And so it's like this constant back and forth of like trying to play stuff that you can score points on while accounting for the fact that the other player probably has 50% of the cards and you're not entirely sure where that split is. So yeah, this one's one of my favorite 2-player games, and Steph and I play this one all the time. Lost Cities. Damn, not looking forward to turning 100 years old. I would rather that than being in the ground. I will say that much. And one more of the all-time favorites, but like at some point I'd love to play more of these on stream. Is there any requests for games? Like, you can throw stuff out, and if I have it, I'll bust it out. One more, and I'm going to use this one to talk about the entire series as a whole, because I love the original. I bought expansions for it, and I've been buying the Legacy series as well. This is Pandemic Legacy Season 1. And unlike regular Pandemic, where you are playing like a one-off game, a pandemic's about to happen, you got to save the world. This is like there's a fixed beginning, middle, and end. There's a story to it, but there is a lot of changes that can happen along the way. You are making permanent changes to the boards, the characters, the cards along the way. You are writing stuff on the boards. You are ripping up cards. Characters die and it's gone forever, and you're like forever warping the shape of the map as you play. And it's so cool. It's my favorite way to play Pandemic, to the point where like I'm not that interested in playing classic Pandemic anymore. But yeah, there's a season 2 and they're working on season 3 right now. Actually, that's coming out I think this year. We're in the middle of a season 2 campaign, but in light of everything happening, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get together to continue this. But yeah, Pandemic, one of my favorites.